Welcome, Footy Midi Watchers. Only a couple of weeks to go until the season kicks off, so thought I'd put out a quick set of podcasts, or vidcasts in this case, for Dream Team and a little bit of Ultimate Footy and a little bit of Supercoach as well, but mainly AFL Dream Team. Won't really look too much at the draft games because they can be really tailored and customised to each particular person, so there's not too much to help with there, but I'll quickly run through a few things that I've learnt from a couple of seasons of playing draft style games previously, which you had to pay for through the early on in the AFL season, but we'll take a look at that soon. Firstly, let's have a look at the games that are available for 2013. There's AFL Fantasy, which is traditional Dream Team, which has also added the Dream Team Elite, which is the draft style game, which you can manage your team, and each member of the league that you play in has their own individual team separate from each other's, and you have a pre-season draft where you select all your players. The other one is Match Day, which is a new game for AFL Fantasy as well, which is a small game where you pick 8 players for a specific game and play against your mates. You can win prizes and stuff. And there's the Eliminator as well, which has been there for many a year, which is a knockout FA Cup style game, which starts in about round 7 or 8 from memory. Can't remember, but around about then anyway. The new game on the block is Ultimate Footy Through the Age. Well, it's new through the age anyway, but it has been around for a couple of years, standalone, but has now been picked up by the Age and TAC. So that's a draft style game, similar to the AFL Elite draft style game. But it's a little bit different because you've got 2 scoring systems. One's a point scoring system, which is similar to the AFL Dream Team point scoring system, and the other is a category scoring system where there are 9 categories, I think, from memory, such as kicks and hit-outs and etc. And you then choose which players to choose around those categories. So it's very similar to NFL style fantasy football in the US. So it's very different, and it's kind of a mixture between the draft style game and also a little bit of Supercoach kind of more intricate scoring than just your traditional AFL fantasy game, which is purely based on stats. So it's a nice blend between the two of the category systems. So. But also the point scoring system makes it very accessible to Dream Teamers as well. And the final one is the Herald Sun Supercoach competition. You've got the classic one, which is very similar to AFL Dream Team, only the scoring system is different. Of course, the scoring system more relates to effectiveness of disposal rather than just pure numbers in the AFL Fantasy team. And there's also the draft style game similar to AFL Elite and also Ultimate Footy. Now, all these competitions have their own apps. Ultimate Footy is not out yet, but it will be coming out. It'll be a free app, so you have live scores. Don't know too much else about it yet, but it'll be out in the next week or so. AFL Dream Team app is also out for Apple and Android. It's free and you get live scores, but there's no management for the draft style AFL Elite games on there, so just be mindful of that. And Supercoach is $2.99 for the app. Live scores with a digital pass. Again, like the AFL one, there's no draft competition support, and that is also available for Apple and Android, and it's out now. But effectively, it's identical to the AFL Fantasy Dream Team app in all its functionality. They're a lot better to use this season. They've got a on-field option as well as the traditionalist. A little bit tricky to figure out the on-field buttons and the process of transferring players in and out and substituting. But once you get the hang of it, it's quite easy. So have a look at that. I don't know why it's $2.99 to be honest. It's virtually an exact copy of the AFL Fantasy Dreamteam app that's for free. So bit odd, but it's Herald Sun, and they want to make some money, which is fair enough, I guess. But still odd. It's just the same app with a different badge pointing to a different database. I don't know why it costs $3. Now we've got some rule changes for 2013 for the classic games. So an AFL Dream Team. This year you'll have 6 defenders down from 7 with 2 on the bench. And midfielders have been upped to 8 with 2 on the bench. Rucks are still 2 and 2. And forwards is 6 and 2. So we've lost a defender and a forward and gained 2 midfielders. So pretty much with everyone playing dual position defenders and forwards, who end up being midfielders anyway. It's not that much of a change as the season will wear on, but early on it's obviously a bit different because obviously you won't be able to add an extra Brett Delidio or Dane Beams into a midfield against the premium which you probably already have at the start of the season, but at least you know the type of players that you probably haven't got in your team that you usually would, and that you can move up towards. So it's not that much of a difference. And also in this season there was 4 emergencies each week, which means you can pick an emergency for every position. So you can have an emergency for your defenders, midfielders, rucks and forwards. Last year there was only 3, so one position usually missed out, usually rucks. But not this season, so we'll have everything covered. Now the trades have also changed this year, so it's 2 per week, every week now, so it's use them or lose them kind of scenario. It's kind of very similar to how, mechanic to the fantasy games seen for the English Premier League and a few other soccer games, where you get 2 trades every week. Would have been nice, those same mechanics for the English Premier League fantasy app. They let you take more trades if you want and deduct a certain amount of points off your team if you use an extra trade that week. And I think that would have been nice to have, rather than just 2 trades per week, where you can have 3 but you lose maybe 60 points or something, or 50 points off your score, off your total score. It subtracts it off. I think that would have made for some good changes and maybe some strategies here and there. But I mean, it'd be a little bit different, more difficult to balance out what is the actual amount of points that should be taken off for a trade with so many different types of players and positional players and scoring systems and all their standard of players with premiums and all that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit more difficult to put that average kind of point on a player, or value on a trade. But maybe it's something like look forward to in seasons coming up. So what it also means is that it gives you a little bit of leeway early on in the season if you maybe pick a wrong rookie or a wrong player early on, to make a free sideways trade in the first couple of weeks before prices change. So don't need to worry about that anymore, because you don't have to conserve your trades. If the only way, actually, by not using trades early on to get your team right, you're probably going backwards unless you've got it all right in the first place. But so in the first 2 weeks, don't be worried at all about moving in with some sideways trades. Now for the bye rounds in rounds 11, 12 and 13 this year, top 18 players from each week counts towards your score. So you can effectively have 12 duck eggs each week, and when I say that, I mean you have 30 players in your squad, so you can have 8 on the bench and 4 on the field that don't score each week. Most players, I think last year at most, during the multi-bye rounds, maybe had 4 duck eggs every week. So it's really balances it out, where if you've got 22 players that are playing, it doesn't matter, only 18 will score anyway. So it makes that period of the season a lot even for everyone. So it's probably a really good idea. So duck eggs, pretty unlikely through those periods, unless you've got a squad which is heavily weighted towards one of the rounds, where maybe you lose more players than the 12 for the week. But again, you've got trades, so you can even fix up a couple of those. So probably shouldn't be any problems. Can't be. You don't need to be worried about burning trades. Now I've looked at the players and the pricing and everything, and I've figured out a team structure that I'm going to go forward with this year. So based on the players that are available and going through the analysis and probably the best team I could put together at the prices that are available at the moment, I've gone with for the defenders 4 premiums, 1 foot soldier, which I call him, which is like a mid-price player, and 3 rookies. In the midfielders, 4 premiums, 2 foot soldiers, and 4 rookies. In the rucks, 1 premium, 1 foot soldier, and 2 rookies. And in the forwards, 3 premium, 3 foot soldiers, and 2 rookies. In the next few podcasts that we go through in the next couple of days, I'll be going through all the players position by position, so looking at defenders, midfielders, rucks, and forwards. So you can see why. I'll be able to explain why in the forwards I've chosen to go 3 premiums and 3 foot soldiers rather than maybe going 4 premiums and 2 foot soldiers and 2 rookies or something. So I'll run through that where the value is in some of those positions there. So what's the key to AFL Fantasy in 2013? As with always, it's monitoring the players. As the prices of players change in the 3-week kind of window, so you have to monitor players and look if they're at a high value and they've had a couple of bad games, where even a large game isn't going to help them very much to keep their score up. Then you might wait a couple of weeks and let that price go down and then bring them in when their price is low. So you really need to monitor those players. So yeah, it's buy low and sell high and make that money. So at the end of the day, you have a team of superstars at the end of the year. So you have rather than just focus on the midfield and just get a Real Madrid midfield early on and spend a lot of cash. The idea is to build up a really good overall team and have a Real Madrid team, so at the season end you come steaming home and win your finals. Well, that's the hope anyway. This is, of course, all relating to traditional AFL Dreamteam rather than the draft leagues. The draft game strategies. I have played these for a couple of years. You could pay early on in the season and set up a draft league in previous years. Wasn't something a lot of people did, I don't think, but I have played a couple of seasons, and the league this year is really relying upon how the league is structured, so you can have a lot of options into how many defenders, forwards, rucks, and also the draft type you have, whether it's just a linear draft from top to bottom, or there's something called a snake selection system, and I think a bonsai, which I didn't really look into that much. So it's really difficult to give any advice depending on how you've set up your league. But the one thing that I did learn over my 2 years, is to, depending on how it's set up, look for positions that you can gain a advantage in by doing some sneaky draft picks earlier than most people would expect. When I say that, maybe you've missed out on the top 10 midfielders, maybe you pick up 12 or 13. What I'd probably advise in that situation, once you get past those midfielders, they're all pretty much the same and you're not going to miss out too much, is maybe pick the best defender or the best ruck at that point, and therefore you gain advantage because there aren't that many good defenders or that many good rucks. And then your next pick a midfielder or something later on, because there's only so many midfielders in the comp, and there are lots of what you'd call premium midfielders floating around that'll get you 80, 90, 100, 110 every week anyway, so keep that in mind, that you can actually gain advantage by doing something different in your draft strategy, rather than just go midfielders, and worry about finding defenders or forwards later. I'll probably also recommend that you don't do the draft on autopilot. One time I did that, And I looked at the draft afterwards and I was like, oh, I would have picked him. I would have picked him if I wasn't there out of my list. And I didn't do my list properly. Didn't really look at it properly and gone, if I would have been sitting there and doing it, I would have made that decision a bit differently. Um, so keep that in mind, and also let you adjust. So if all of a sudden two people have taken rucks, like I've advised there, then maybe you need to take a ruck straight away too to make sure you don't end up with the eighth best ruckman and find yourself at a disadvantage later on. But for all this Ultimate Footy, you've got a great PDF guide that'll guide you through all the draft stuff. Put a link there. I'll put a link underneath this podcast on the website as well, so you can go there and have a read. It's a really good article and better than anything that I could possibly advise on. So have a look at that. They've done really well with that, and it should help anyone out. Most people would have read it anyway. I think it's on their website. Been on their website for a little while. So where's good places to get data from when you're setting up your team? Sign up for the Champion Data newsletter at championdata.com. That'll give you all the pre-season stats from now, how they've all gone. I think it came out the other day, but if you sign up, you'll get one straight away anyway. So keep that in mind. That's a really good free resource, and you'll get a weekly one through the season as well. They'll help you keep track of who's going to go up and drop in price as the season goes on. There's also good good free stats at a website called fanfooty.com. It's a site that you can have a look at all the past seasons and stuff. And one thing it's really helpful with is looking at the scores each player had last year. So you can find players who are maybe a bit undervalued, who maybe had one or two games where perhaps they got injured early. So maybe a Courtney Dempsey at Essendon or a Mark Murphy, they had a few games where they got injured very early on in games, which drove their average down, which has caused their price to go down. But in all likelihood, if they played all the games normally, their price would be a little bit higher. So you can look for value like that in players through the historical records on Fan Footy. And finally, now in the last 2 weeks leading up to the season, sign up for the Assistant Coach and Supercoach Goal 14-day trial. That'll help you build your team, look at the breakdowns of points and all kinds of stuff. So it's free. If you choose to go on, it's only $20 a year anyway. But for the first couple of weeks into the season, sign up. Or if you don't want to do that now, sign up at probably a week at the start of around the Richmond and Carlton game. That'll give you 2 weeks to analyse the first 2 weeks of the season proper, which will be good. So keep that in mind. It's a little gold button, I think, down the bottom of the websites on AFL Dreamteam and Supercoach. Also, there are books and guides out. The NRB Cup Pre-Season Cup record, $7 for entry-level Dream Teamer. I think that's all you really need. It's a great read as well to keep around the house, and it's useful for AFL fantasy games and also the Ultimate Footy point scoring system rather than the category. So it's good for that. Analyses all the players, gives you basic stats, and like I said, handy for putting in a fake cover and sitting there in work meetings or something, or even if it's on the toilet, keep it in there. It's a very guy thing to do, but it's alright. And it's also available on iPad, which is very handy as well. So keep that in mind. There's also the AFL Record Season Guide for 2013. This costs $40. Bit more for the serious Dream Teamer, and really only focus on Dream Team, although it obviously does help, as I said before, with the Ultimate Footy point scoring system as well. More in depth than the NRB Cup record, more extensive stats and analysis, and really good to keep on the coffee table as the season goes through. You can get that at most newsagents and bookstores and stuff, so shouldn't be too hard to find. Or alternatively, you can also get the AFL's prospectus, which is $40 as well. I don't find it all that useful, to be honest, for AFL Dream Team. Extremely useful for the other games as well. The category scoring game of Ultimate Footy and also Supercoach. This book is pretty much essential because it really does give you breakdowns of efficiencies, historical efficiencies, and all kinds of stuff. So, lets you see how players have tracked through their career, their improvements and stuff in the kind of statistical analysis and areas that affect scoring in those two games. So, if you're going to play those games, then you really do need this book. Probably gives you information you really can't get anywhere else. So, with the AFL 2013 record, though, it's good to have in your coffee table and lying around. Full player analysis, in-depth historical stats, and in general, like I said, a really good AFL reference to have about the place. Now I've set up a fantasy league code, 653723, so I'll tweet that out in a little bit as well, but if you want to sign up. It'd be good to play against whoever's listening to this out there. And the next episode, which will come out tomorrow, will be look at all the defenders that I've looked at for the 2013 season, and also straight after defenders there'll be the addition of the rucks as well. That'll be Tuesday night, and Wednesday will be midfielders and forwards coming out. So lots of information coming out just before the season starts, but it's the perfect time to work on your dream team, as now a lot of exposed form has come through and some injuries have petered out, and I didn't really want to sit around and change my team a million times, and I'd rather start from scratch now and get the right team out rather than having a team that's all a bit of a mess a bit later on that I've changed a million times and maybe isn't really what I want, and I'll probably have to scrap anyway and start again. So that's it. Again, you can look at it at the web, Twitter, Facebook, and you'll be able to download this and subscribe on iTunes as well. Got an RSS feed as well, which you can subscribe to, but plenty of ways to keep in touch, and I like to hear your feedback as well if you've got any, whether it's negative or positive. It's up to you guys, but I hope you guys find this useful as you build your teams together. This is probably something that you've probably already sorted out, but I thought I'd put it out there anyway before I put the player research out there tomorrow and Wednesday. Okay, thanks. This is the AFL Dreamteam Diaries, and we'll catch you soon.